Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today, well, today is Hump Day.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as I always like to say, the fun is all in the trying. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's kind of a weird Hump Day because, we didn't have a Monday. So yesterday was the beginning of the week, and we're already working towards the weekend. So, I'm suffice it to say, I believe that the end of our spring is going kind of good, but it normally does, at least if we're successful in making today the beginning of the weekend. And, it looks like Mike has already tried because he is not here today. So he must already be, he's either starting the weekend or ending the weekend. So he may be taking an extended break or extended weekend vacay. Who knows? We shall see. But hey, you're here. I'm here. We're going to have a good time. If you're watching the show live, then know that we are live and know that you can give us all sorts of fun and comments. And feel free to chime in if you are watching us at 3 p.m. Pacific. 6 p.m. Eastern. If you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, you're watching us on Rumble, you're watching us on Twitter, just know that I got access to all of your comments right over here, and I will be chiming in. As you chime in, I will let folks know. I'll let folks know what you have to say. If you got something interesting to say, that is. Anyway. All right, well, let's go ahead and let's get into today's stories. Oh, wait. Before we do, you know what we got to do. That's right. We got to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Let's see here. We're going to start off with Hitman Industries. If you are looking to do a new build or you're looking to rebarrel your current rifle, I can think of no better place to go than to hitmanindustries.net. They have rifle and pistol length barrels available for you today. They have, by the way, they have They have Glock barrels. They have Glock barrels for you as well. Just go to their website, hitmanindustries.net. Now, if you are a first responder and you have never purchased from them before, then you would be eligible to actually get a discount. So, once again, check them out today. That's hitmanindustries.net. Next we have, the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all level of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. So all you got to do is go to cragop.org to check them out. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. Next up, we have Hog Holsters. They have the best in concealed carry and tactical holsters available for you today. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there. And you can get a discount on your new Hog Holster. Well, on us. Let's see what do we got here next. And then finally, last but not least, we also have uscombatgear.com, the place to go to get all things tactical except for the gun. Outdoor gear, cold weather gear, hot weather gear, wet weather gear, you name it, they've got it. Once again, all things tactical but the gun, you will find them at uscombatgear.com. All right, that brings us to today's news stories. And our first story of the day has to do with the Trump case. That's right, the Trump trial is, I don't want to say it's over. Let's just say both sides have, quote unquote, attempted to make their case. To give you a kind of a little bit of an idea, because, all right, first of all, let's just start. So you have an idea of exactly what the charges are. And I think this is important because at least during the trial, up to the closing remarks or closing statements, which, by the way, the prosecution gave a 5-hour closing statement. Anyway, but we had really little to no idea of what the actual charges were. So here is the folks over at CNN, some folks over at CNN kind of explaining exactly what the charges are, or at least what to expect from this point going forward. So let's check it out here real quick.
So let's walk through some of the key points the judge is about to instruct the jury on. First of all, he's going to start with the indictment, which, of course, charges falsifying business records in the first degree. We know that there are 34 counts in the indictment. The jury is going to have to return a separate verdict on each of them. Now, it's important to understand this crime is unusual. There's sort of 3 steps that the judge is about to outline for the jury. First, falsifying business records, which is essentially what it sounds like. But then, in order to commit some other crime under New York state law, that other crime here, according to the prosecutors, as the judge will lay out, is an effort to influence the election by, quote, unlawful means. And to that end, the prosecution has offered the jury 3 different unlawful means: falsification of other business records and tax fraud, both of which got sort of short shrift during the actual trial and during yesterday's closings. But the big one that prosecutors have really focused on is a violation of federal campaign laws. That's how this becomes a felony. Now, the theory really all flows from the payments to Stormy Daniels, the hush money payments. Of course, we know Michael Cohen first paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 before the 2016 election and then was reimbursed by Donald Trump and the Trump Organization $420,000 after the election. Now, how does that become a crime? Let me show you something the ADA said yesterday to the jury during his closing argument. He said once AMI, and he argued the same thing later for Cohen, once they purchased stories on the candidate's behalf and in coordination with that campaign, those purchases became unlawful campaign contributions. And then the theory is Donald Trump tried to hide those unlawful campaign contributions by making them look like legal fees, by labeling them as retainers on the checks and invoices. So that's the theory of how you get to the crime here. The argument is these were legal fees they tried to make them look like legal fees in order to disguise the fact that they were campaign contributions. A couple other really important points the judge is about to instruct the jury on. First of all, the burden of proof, the all-important burden of proof. In a criminal case, it is beyond a reasonable doubt that's the highest in our entire legal system. The judge will make a point that the prosecution bears that burden of proof. Also, crucial, the judge will tell the jury it is up to you to decide witness credibility based on what the witness said.
Now getting into some of the stuff in terms of what's the word I'm looking for. He's now getting into some of the the issues with Cohen, but I thought that one of the things that he really just kind of swept right by, and I wanted to make sure that we touched on this. First of all, understand that this is also a case that's being tried in the media, and the number one point behind this is to make Donald Trump look bad in the media. And I think if you look here, the Associated Press is doing their job, as they would have them say. It says here, jury in Donald Trump's hush money case asked to rehear testimony as deliberations get underway. So they're asking to rehear the testimony. Now, I want you to understand exactly what this means. Well, first of all, let me read a little bit from the story here. It says, jury deliberations began Wednesday in Donald Trump's hush money trial, placing the outcome of the history-making case in the hands of a dozen New Yorkers who have vowed to be fair and impartial in the face of their unprecedented work. Yeah, a task. Yeah, right. Okay, just hours after embarking on their closed-door discussion, the jury returned with separate notes asking to hear testimony about the alleged hush money scheme at the heart of the case and to hear legal instructions from the judge that are meant to guide their deliberations. The notes are the sole communication with the court since the jury of 7 men and 5 women was sent to the private room before 11:30 a.m. Begin weighing a verdict in the historic case. Though the deliberations are secret, notes are used to send questions or messages about the case to notify the court of a verdict or if they've been unable to reach one. Now, once again, let's get back to talking about some of the things to note. So what he did was, and it's funny because he pointed out that there are 34 charges, right? And I'm trying to remember, and I don't remember if he pointed out, but every single one of those 34 charges are all based on different forms that he signed, all relating to the same incident, right? So it's all relating to the same exact incident. So really, It's one crime is what we're talking about here. One crime. Or let me clarify. Alleged crime. Because once again, we don't even know that he committed a crime. And then even still, now this is the important point. Now remember yesterday I told you that testimony, the opening and closing arguments are not evidence, right? They're not evidence because just because they're stating fact. There is no opportunity to cross-examine them. There's no opportunity to question them. There's no foundation. I mean, there's no way to establish. You're not required to establish foundation. You can basically make whatever statements you make. It is not evidence. In the closing arguments was the first time during the entire trial that it was ever mentioned what the actual quote-unquote crime was, the federal crime that turned all of these same incident but separately charged incidents that were misdemeanors that made them a felony. And they said it was interference. In other words, he was attempting to interfere with the election. Right? So first of all, let's be clear. Number one, that's not what he's charged with. He's charged with lying on documents in order to mislead election. Wait a minute. There is absolutely no crime. You could call it election interference, but providing information or making sure that the public doesn't get correct information or doesn't get some information. Because if that were the case, if that were the federal crime, well then, shouldn't Twitter and shouldn't the Facebook or actually the FBI, shouldn't they be charged with election interference? Because they worked to make sure that the public did not get access, or they attempted to make sure that the public did not get access to information regarding Hunter Biden's laptop when they knew it would impact the election. Is that or is that not? Why wasn't Hillary Clinton charged with election interference when she wiped her hard drive clean? Right? I mean, anyway, the point here is that there is no crime. The crime is, and here's the other thing. So they pointed out, you noticed in that video, he said, well, he paid $130,000 to Stormy Daniels. Right? And by the way, and I'll get back to that. And then he got paid $420,000. So there's not a specific amount. So it's not like he paid $130,000, he got reimbursed $130,000. No, they did not even come close to making their case. And by the way, that comes to then, once again, reasonable doubt. So how do you prove, and once again, it's on the prosecution to prove that Donald Trump intended to do this in the conversations, that the whole intent of this was to make sure it didn't come out during the election, to make sure that it wasn't revealed because of the election. There was no evidence. There was no evidence offered except for the statement from the one witness who is a convicted perjurer, who is a convicted liar before the court, who admitted to stealing at least $30,000 from Donald Trump. And, oh, by the way, not mentioning that, which means basically he lied to his attorneys. So he lied to his own attorneys. Why wouldn't he lie to the jury? Right? I mean, this is, and by the way, just so you know, NDAs, which is what he had her sign, right? She got paid to sign the NDA. NDAs are commonly used and are wholly within the law. Paying someone to sign an NDA, once again, is wholly legal, done all the time, and completely according to the law. So the only thing that they have attempted to charge him with is that he did that in order to hide it from the election, And because he didn't do it with campaign funds and he did it with his own money, that should have been a campaign contribution, and that's the felony. Because he didn't have any personal reason at all why he would want to have her sign this NDA. Nothing outside of the election. Yeah. Folks, that's the case. That's the case. And you know what's funny is? It took them 5 hours to explain that. 5 hours is what it took the prosecution to explain all of that. And now here we are, waiting to see what is going to happen, waiting to see what the outcome of this particular court case is going to be. And here's the thing, folks. Number one, it's already been fun. First of all, I was at one time, I was like, well, why didn't they just ask for the case for the charges to be thrown out right after the prosecution rested? Because, quite frankly, it was obvious they hadn't made their case. They hadn't even stated what the overall crime was, and that's what I would have rested my head on if I was concerned about the outcome of the trial. But this wasn't just about the trial. This is also about the election. And Donald Trump has made, I'm not going to say he's personally made. I know his campaign has raked in millions of dollars as a result of this trial. This trial has probably done more to help Donald Trump than any one thing that he has said or done since he lost the election in 2020. There is nothing that he has said or done that has helped him more than this trial. And mind you, this is the trial that probably has the greatest likelihood of him getting convicted. Because we're already seeing that, Fannie Williams, Fannie Annie with down there in Georgia, we already know she's got her own legal problems relating to the trial and the charges down there in an area that's likely to be Trump friendly. And you've also got Mr. Jack Smith, who is also having his problems with his case. That whole issue is being dealt with. And by the way, that one, the documents case, is the one that probably holds the greatest likelihood in terms of there's evidence that something was done there that shouldn't have been done. Now, mind you, the argument is going to be, well, look, you didn't do it with Hillary Clinton. You didn't do it with Joe Biden. There's going to be a lot of cases like, why are you prosecuting in this case? Oh, that's right, because he's a Republican and you don't like him. So, there's plenty of arguments to be made on that front. But yeah, no, when it all comes down to it, these folks have lost their ever-loving minds if they think this is going to win. And by the way, this is likely the only one that's going to happen between now and the election. And so, if this is the best they have, and you even have legal analysts over at CNN saying, yeah, no, he didn't make his case. The prosecution did not make their case. When CNN and MSNBC are like, yeah, it looks like we're going to take an L on this one. You got to raise questions. You got to consider that maybe, just maybe, that this thing ain't going the way that they want it to. Anyway, good stuff. Can't wait to hear more. I would not be surprised if this is done by the end of the week and he has been acquitted by then. I will not be surprised at all. At the same time, I won't be surprised if he is convicted. No, actually, I take that back. I will be surprised if he is convicted because, once again, in a case like this, I think especially there only needs to be one person who is like, I'm willing to stand up and say, I'm sorry, I don't think he did it. There only has to be one person that has to say, I don't care what the evidence shows, he did it. Right? There only has to be one. So I think a hung jury is the most likely outcome. I think the charges being dropped is the second most likely outcome. And quite frankly, to convince 12 people in New York, to convince 12 people that even if all 12 of them hate Donald Trump, the fact that all 12 of them would hate Donald Trump and all be unethical, and ignore the law, ignore the facts, I don't believe that. I'm not that cynical a person. I'm not that cynical enough to believe that. But this was such a poorly run or poorly done case by the prosecution. These charges should have never been brought. And I think that in the end, the Democratic Party is going to regret this ever happening. All right, moving on. Kim Jong-un rains shite storm upon South Korea. I know you're like, wait, what? A shite storm? No, not that kind of shite storm. A literal shite storm. Here, according to Microsoft Start, it says here, Kim Jong-un's balloon barrage, bags of excrement fly into the south. The unusual sight drifted into South Korea's skies on Wednesday. Large white balloons carrying plastic bags of North Korean trash. Some contained something even more vile. The air deliveries from North Korea were detected the prior evening, Seoul's military said, triggering emergency warnings around 11:30 p.m. to border town residents to avoid going outdoors because of suspicious objects floating in the sky. All told, around 260 balloons were found scattered across a country roughly the geographic size of Indiana. Some journeyed more than 180 miles. One landed gently on a street. The pair of balloons and a clear plastic bag left intact. Another crashed through the greenhouse roof of a local grape farmer. Many others broke apart and spilled their contents onto sidewalks and streets. Shreds of pink, blue, and white paper, an empty laundry detergent bag, and dark clumps that looked like excrement. That's right. I said it. Looks like excrement. And for those of you who do not know what excrement is, maybe that's a little bit big of a word for you, that would be poo-poo or doo-doo or shite, as I referred to it. Feces, maybe a little bit more, along the way. But what's funny is this was in retaliation. And when I say in retaliation, no, South Korea did not send bags of flying poo over into North Korea. They actually did those, from what I understand, send balloons that contained liberty tracts talking about talking about democracy, as well as CDs of K-pop from some of the better known South Korean bands. Yeah, I know, that's hilarious. But anyway, so I guess the attitude was, you send us your poop, we'll send you our poop. That's the story there. Honestly, the only reason that's newsworthy is because it is funny and because I got to write that headline. So, I don't know. Sue me if I went too far, Poop happens. Alrighty, moving right along. Civil war breaks out in the BLM, or Black Lives Matter. Now, this isn't just any civil war, because this civil war, it has casualties. When I say casualties, I'm more referring to bank accounts. And when I say bank accounts, specifically I'm talking about 8.7 million George Washingtons. That's right. A civil war consumes Black Lives Matter. $8.7 million goes missing. I think I've reported on this before, but kind of wanted to bring you an update. It says here, the left-wing dark money giant Tides Foundation raised more than $33 million on behalf of the National Black Lives Matter group during the George Floyd riots in 2020. Now, Black Lives Matter is suing Tides over its refusal to hand the funds back. There's just one problem. Nearly $9 million of the funds have seemingly disappeared. From 2020 to 2022, Tides transferred $8.7 million from the fund to Black Lives Matter Grassroots, an offshoot of the National Black Lives Matter group led by Melina Abdullah, the longtime activist and professor and Marxist. But Black Lives Matter Grassroots reported to the IRS that it never received that money. Oh, that's the new one. They said they never received it. And no one involved in the transactions will say what became of the funds. These discrepancies have left charity watchdogs mystified, while legal experts say they could lead to massive fines and penalties. Now, folks, let's just be clear. Black Lives Matter from the very beginning has been all about, that cash. They have been all about raising money, and they have raised, as you can see, tens of millions of dollars. And that money has been used for all sorts of things, from paying family members and boyfriends, from buying homes and property and cars, from living lavish lifestyles. All of that has been a part of the Black Lives Matter movement. In fact, it was so bad that, one person had recommended that maybe BLM should stand for Black Mansions Matter. But maybe it's Black Vacations, Black Vacations Matter. I don't know. But the point is that this whole thing has been a grift. And you and I knew it was a grift because we said it from the very beginning, from the very beginning, that when we first started the show, when we first started talking about Black Lives Matter, we said that it was a grift, which is interesting because, for people who are supposed to believe in, cultural Marxism and communism, they sure are acting like, like naked capitalists. When I say naked capitalists, I mean, crony capitalists is what I'm really referring to. But, yeah, this is, anyway, it's going to be real interesting to see what happens from this. I didn't realize, because I know that they said that they had given the money to an offshoot group. I did not know that nobody knew where that money went. So one of two things happened. Either they pocketed the money, Tides Foundation, people there pocketed the money, and just figured, well, we'll just let these folks fight amongst themselves. Or they gave the money to someone else, either mistakenly or they're trying to hide it, or Black Lives Matter, the grassroots, actually got the money and is lying and saying, you can't prove that you sent us the money. One of those things has got to be the truth. It'll be very, very interesting to find out exactly which one it is. I don't know. I'm once again, I will go back and I will say, I have no idea which way this is going to come out. But I'm pretty sure that it is not going to be pretty for Black Lives Matter. But hey, who knows? I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. The media clearly, because this is, by the way, this is written at the Washington Free Beacon, right? They're the only ones that are covering this. Nobody else. Think about that. Nobody else. $8.7 million from a black activist group in contributions just came up missing, and nobody else has found it to be newsworthy. Right. Who knows? Maybe they're right. Maybe it's not. I doubt it. All right, moving right along. Nikki Haley autographs artillery shell for Hamas. Okay, before you jump into it, no, she did not go and visit with Hamas and then sign the shell for them. Actually, well, maybe, you know what it is? She probably did sign it for Hamas because it's just going to be delivered by the IDF. It says here, Nikki Haley, and this, by the way, is being reported by Fox News. Nikki Haley writes clear message to Hamas on IDF military shell. Former Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley wrote a clear message of support to the IDF on an artillery shell during a recent visit to Israel. Quote, "Finish them!" ! America loves Israel always. Haley wrote on the projectile. Pictures of Haley signing the artillery shell were posted on X by Danny Danon, a member of the Israeli Knesset, dang it, I should do better. I know I should be better at pronouncing this. Anyway, and the Israelis' former ambassador to the UN. The former United Nations ambassador and South Carolina governor is touring Israel, where she has met with military leaders and survivors of the October 7 attacks, and where the Palestinian terror group around 1,200 Israelis took some 240 people captive. I will tell you right now, I'll tell you what she's doing right now. She is auditioning for Secretary of State. That's what she's doing right there. And I cannot think of a better message to send, and I cannot think of a better delivery method for said message. Nice job, Governor Haley. Didn't like you as a presidential candidate. Don't want you as a presidential candidate. But you did a good job with that one. I'm gonna take my hats off. I'm gonna give you your kudos because that was a good one. All right, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holster. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Today's parting shot is going to come compliments of the Babylon Bee, and they have one of their famous lists, which, I love their lists. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read their list to you today. And it is 9 damning pieces of evidence that Donald Trump is guilty. Ooh, let's see here. Number 1, Trump says he's innocent. Exactly the sort of thing Trump and a guilty person would say. Number 2, before the trial, the prosecution's star witnesses both said Trump was innocent. It doesn't get any more cut and dry. That's right. In other words, the star witnesses, that would be Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen, both previously said, yeah, Trump didn't do anything wrong. Such is not the case anymore. Anyway, number 3, the judge decided Trump was guilty before the trial even begins. Well, of course it's obvious. So therefore he is guilty. Because the judge has decided that Donald Trump is guilty, therefore he must be guilty. Number 4, no one in America has ever been charged with a felony for this crime before. Well, if you're going to commit a crime, and Donald Trump is a guy of firsts, Trump is so guilty that he had to make up new laws. They had to make up new laws. Case closed. Number 5, Trump was in Home Alone 2 alongside notorious criminals, the Wet Bandits. You know what? Birds of a feather. That's all I'm going to say. Just birds of a feather flock together. That's how that rolls. Number 6, Trump spent evenings after the trial delivering pizza to firemen. Exactly what a hardened felon would do. Therefore, he should be locked up. Number 7, Trump's signature on the checks in question is kind of hard to read. That's the plain mark of a criminal conspiracy. Number 8, here it is. This is the coup de grace. This is it. Robert De Niro said he was guilty. Therefore, game over. You talking to me? And then finally, and this is probably the most obvious of all of them, he is not a Democrat. So clearly, he behind bars. Because as we all know, if he had been a Democrat and done the exact same thing, which I'm sure plenty of Democrats did, I don't know, Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. Anyway, but as any of them did, I am sure that they would never have been brought up on charges. And that, my friends, are the 9 damning pieces of evidence proving Trump is guilty. I'm wondering if they're going to be discussing those in the jury room as they're deliberating during jury deliberations. I don't know. What do you guys think? Maybe yes, no, maybe. I don't know. We shall see. In any case, folks, that's going to bring today's show to a close. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. But before we go, got to give a shout out. Start off with Hitman Industries. Just go to hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you today. Ooh, go to cragop.org if you want to learn more about the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. And then if you want a hog holster, just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your hog holster on discount today. And then finally, if you're looking for something tactical, anything tactical, in fact, all things tactical but the gun you will find at uscombatgear.com. And that is going to be it for today's program. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We'll be back tomorrow on Throat Punch Thursday. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and we will see you mañana.